Hello everyone, welcome back to The Budget Sportsman. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. Today I want to talk to you about a hunting saddle that I've actually owned for the last couple of years, but I've never made a video about it because in the beginning, I really didn't care for it that much. But over time, I decided to give it a chance and it has become one of my favorite saddles. In fact, I've spent most of my hunting time the last 2 seasons in this saddle, and I'm talking about the Custom Gear Modification Cobra. This is Custom Gear Modification's pleated saddle, not the Sidewinder, which is a single panel saddle that I have made videos about before. Now, before I dive into the review of this saddle, I do want to give you a little bit of backstory because I think it will help to explain why I've never made a video before now and why I am making the video now. So when I first started out saddle hunting, I was using the tethered Phantom, which by the way, I still have and is still a very wonderful saddle. Later on, I wanted to be able to have some more saddles to review, and I got in touch with Jerry at Custom Gear Modification, and one of the saddles that I had a chance to review was their Sidewinder. Now, the Phantom and the Sidewinder have a lot of similarities. They're both single panel saddles, and they kind of fit me in a similar way. For a long time, I felt like that was the saddle that worked well for me. They work really well, for me at least, in a leaning position, not as well in a seated position, but I love to lean, and so it worked really well. Several times I had a chance to sit in a pleated saddle, like at a saddle hunter meetup, I sat in a cruiser saddle, I don't remember which model, but it was a pleated saddle, and I just felt like it was too much. It was too bulky, there's too much going on, and I just didn't really care for it all that much. Well, after a year or two of saddle hunting, and I had reviewed the Custom Gear Modification Sidewinder, Jerry reached back out to me and said, hey, we're gonna be releasing our Cobra saddle, and would you be interested in trying it out? And I was really honest with him. I said, Jerry, listen, I typically don't like pleated saddles. I like single panel saddles. So I don't know if I'm the best person to review this for you. His response to me was, that's actually why I want you to try it on. I want you to try it out. I want you to give me your feedback because I know this is how you feel, and so I want you to try it. So he sent it to me. I tried it a little bit at the end of that season, and it didn't jive with me. I had these expectations and these maybe preconceived ideas of a pleated saddle, and it just didn't fit me that well. It wasn't that comfortable. I don't know, I just didn't like it. I gave Jerry a lot of feedback. I actually sent this particular saddle back to him and had him put on some custom adjustments here to try to get it to feel a bit better. I believe it was the next season that I just decided, you know what, I really should give this a chance. I had been hunting out of the Sidewinder that season, and I thought I'm gonna go ahead and go back and give this a chance. And over time, I began to be more comfortable in it. But what I noticed was that I would spend a lot more time in this saddle in a seated position. I would bring a knee pad and I would spend a lot more time in a seated position and less in a leaning position. So I would go back and forth between the Sidewinder and the Cobra, and I would lean more in the Sidewinder and sit more in the Cobra. This past season, I actually hunted almost exclusively out of this, and I would try to go back to the Sidewinder, and I actually just couldn't get used to it. And what I found is the more time that I spent in this, the more comfortable it became. And there's a couple reasons for that. And one is I learned more about how to adjust it. There's a lot of different ways to adjust it. And I actually found it to be more versatile. I got to the place where I could lean in this very comfortably, but I could sit in it. And it was the best of both worlds. So I told Jerry, hey, you know what? I was wrong about this saddle. I've given it a chance over the course of a couple seasons and I love it. I'm gonna make a video. He said, hold on, we've made some changes. I wanna send you an updated version. And so he sent me this. At my request, he put it in Strata. You guys know I love Strata Camo. He made this Cobra version for me in Strata Camo, and so this is the one that I'm going to be talking to you about today. So let's dive more into the details of what I love about the CGM Cobra saddle. So one of the biggest things that I love about Custom Gear Modification in general, but specifically with these Cobra saddles, is in the name, Custom Gear Modifications. And so you can order these in a bunch of different configurations and even send in your own camo patterns or your own gear to have it made as a very custom saddle for you. Now over here in this hand, this is an older version. There's been some changes to this, but overall, if you buy the base level Cobra saddle, this is what you're gonna get. It's a mesh, black mesh sort of fabric here, and that's what you're gonna sit in. Now again, this is an older model, but basically it's the same. And then this new model here, you could still get this new version in that mesh, that's the baseline model, but you can also request for an extra fee to have certain camo patterns. He carries some that are in stock. Like I mentioned, this is True Timber Strata as a camo covering, but you can also send in your own gear, maybe a pair of pants or a jacket, and he'll actually cut it up and do some really cool things in making your very own custom saddle. Now, as a baseline, I just looked it up. I believe the prices have gone up a little bit over the years, as everything in our current economy, but these are $235, I believe, for the baseline. Now, some of these upgrades like the camo covering and extra molly things are a little bit of an upgrade. I think this one would probably run you about $280, but this is a really high quality saddle. And that brings me to a great point. These are really, really high quality. These are made in the USA. I don't know if you can see this right there, but there is a made in the USA sticker right there, a little tag with the date of manufacture. And one thing I appreciate about this is that Jerry is a veteran, and I mean, he is all about American made. And you know, he's going to support America and veterans, and I really, really appreciate that about him. And so this is an awesome saddle. Now, the Cobra saddle in general, no matter which version you get, is a pleated saddle. And what's really awesome about this is the pleat is really stiff. I mean, you can see I'm going to put a good bit of tension on there before it even comes apart. And then there you go, it comes apart. And it's got two different seams. So if you want a really big saddle that really is going to cup you, this is what you get. You get a big expansion. Now for me, I already told you in the beginning that I prefer smaller saddles. And so for me, I rarely ever open both pleats. Oftentimes, I'm going to open just the bottom one. I'm going to leave this one closed and open just the bottom one, and that gives me the shape that I prefer. But what I've also found over a period of time is that it makes a difference. And I can't really explain it to you, but it makes a difference whether you open the bottom or the top. Just in the way that everything sits and everything feels. This saddle is so customizable to have it closed, open just the top, open just the bottom, or open both to get exactly the feel that you want. Now, while I'm back here, I should also mention that if you want to walk in with a smaller saddle, it has a little G-hook here, and you can hook that up. And basically everything then is nice and tight and compact. And so it's really handy. You don't have anything dangling down around you. That's really awesome. Another feature of adjustability is over here. I think they call these the bridge gap adjusters right here. And so if you want a saddle where the front kind of cups around and comes real close together, you can cinch that down. If you want to let that come open and give yourself maybe a little bit more relief on the hips, depending on your body shape, you can open that up and let everything really open with those pleats. And you've got one of those on both sides. On this particular saddle, I have 3 rows of molly, one across the top. This is where I normally attach my haulers and my bags and so forth. You got another smaller row right here, and you even have a row across the bottom. Again, if you want this many rows of molly on your saddle, that is going to be a slight upgrade from the base model, but every model is going to come with at least 1 row of molly across the top. Another feature here on this saddle that wasn't on the old Cobra is it has these loops here if you want to add suspenders to your saddle. It's also worth noting that the leg straps are fully removable right here. So if you're a type of guy that doesn't want to use leg straps, they are removable. Now, one of the things that I appreciate about the custom gear modification saddles is the number of attachment points that you have. So right here, you have your main lineman's loops. And what's really awesome is they have reflective strip on the inside. So if you're trying to find it in the dark, maybe in the moonlight or with a small headlamp, that's going to really help you out. But it also has a loop here at the end of this row of molly. So if you want to clip on an extra carabiner, clip on your pull-up rope for your bow, who knows, sometimes I clip my Mad Rock Safeguard in there when I'm not using it or when I get to the ground. And then I've also got another loop down here. So there's plenty of attachment points. And again, that's on both sides. So you've got a lot of attachment points. Now, one of the upgrades that the newer versions of these saddles have that the old Cobra did not is you're going to see this little piece right here that's going to be Velcroed to your bridge loop. And you're going to say, what in the world is that? Well, inside this Velcro and inside the little pouch, there is a piece of am steel, and it's meant to be a tension relief strap. So if you were to fall off of your platform and to be hanging in your saddle and maybe not be able to climb back up onto your platform, you could use this and you could hook it in to where you could actually stand on it. You could hook it into maybe your carabiner where you're tied in at your bridge, and then stand on a loop and get the tension up off of the leg straps of your saddle. A lot of tree stand safety harnesses come with this. And I don't know any other saddle companies, maybe you do, but I don't know of any other saddle companies who are including this extra little safety feature, something I really appreciate about custom gear modifications. So I did want to show you how you're going to put this saddle on. You're going to have a bridge and a waist belt. You're just going to step through both of those. You're going to pull that up, and then here, you're just going to cinch down on that waist belt. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos about custom gear modifications, and one of the things that you know is custom is that they have several different waist belt options. They have a rope option, and they also have a webbing belt option, and there may be one more. They used to have an am steel option, but they may have gotten rid of that one now. I think one of my favorites here is the rope option, but I have the webbing on a Sidewinder saddle, and it's really, really nice too. Now for your leg straps, you're going to reach down through and grab the strap, and you're going to have these G-hooks on the end of them. Now, one of the things that I appreciate about this new Cobra is that on the old one, the hooks or the loops here where you put the hooks in were way back here, and they were black on black, very hard to see. Now they've moved these out. They've used an orange, easy to see, high visibility loop, and they've moved them out where you can actually grab them and bring them around the front where it's super, super easy to see. And then you can just cinch that down if you need to. It's a really, really nice setup. All right, so the bridge on this saddle is a rope bridge, and I really like it. It works really well. You've got adjustments on both sides. You also have bridge loop adjustments for the tension or the positioning of your bridge onto your saddle. And the other thing that's a really nice upgrade over the original Cobra is that it actually has a tender here for your bridge. And so it's a one-handed adjustment there for your bridge. And that's really, really nice. Now, if I was to have one complaint about that, it's that it's on my left-hand side. And almost all of my adjustments with my lineman's belt and everything else, I tend to do with my right hand. And so if it was me, I'd prefer to have that adjuster or that one-handed tender there on the other side. However, if you were going to order, I think it'd be really easy to say, hey, Jerry, can I have my bridge tender on the right-hand side? And I'm sure he'd have no problems doing that for you. Mine just came on the left-hand side. Now, no saddle review would be complete without at least getting up in the tree for a few minutes. And I'll be honest with you, it's been a couple months since our hunting season ended here in Pennsylvania, and I haven't been in a tree in quite a while. And so for the first time up here, I got up and really in just a couple of minutes, I've got everything set to where I'm really comfortable. Now, as you can see, I'm leaning, and right now, I don't know if you can see, but I don't have any of the pleats open on the saddle, and I find this to be a really comfortable position to be in. Now, I'm kind of in a little bit of a leaning tree here. It's not a perfect setup, but I could easily sit here and hunt for quite a while and be really comfortable. Now, when it goes to, sitting or maybe kneeling into the tree, even this isn't bad at all. But I'll tell you that if you can just open up even just one of those pleats, not even both of them, for me anyways, oh man, I just got a perfect seat to sit in there now, and I find this to be incredibly comfortable. When I first started hunting out of a saddle, I almost never actually sat like this. And part of it was because I liked leaning, but part of it was it just really wasn't that comfortable. This, if I had a knee pad, which I don't have right now, but if I at least had a knee pad, I find this to be really, really comfortable. And I also find that I sit a little bit more still when I'm in this position over when I'm leaning. However, this saddle works fine. Now, when I sit up like this, now I feel like there's a little bit too much going on, and it's kind of pulling into my legs a little bit. Now, I could easily live with that, no big deal. But if I just pull it up a little bit like that, I'm back to being very comfortable again. So for me, the reason that the Cobra has become my favorite saddle is for its versatility. I still love a single panel saddle for its lightweight attributes and its simplicity. However, I find that I'm more comfortable in a single panel saddle leaning than sitting. And this saddle, the Cobra, I can be equally as comfortable in either position depending on how I'm feeling that day, or what I'm wearing, or the type of tree, or even just to be able to change it up throughout the hunt just to give myself a different position to be comfortable in. And so that's why the Cobra has become one of my favorites. Of course, I've liked Custom Gear Modification as a company and their saddles for a long time. They are absolutely doing their best to provide these at the best price that they can. I realize it might seem a little bit expensive, but when you compare to some of the other companies and what they're putting out there, Custom Gear Modifications is doing their very best to provide a high quality product at the best possible price they can for the everyday hunter. Of course, the fact that they are US made right here in America in the state of Tennessee with great quality, and they're going to stand behind their products, they're custom. Those are all things that I love about Custom Gear Modifications as a company, but specifically the Cobra has taken over my place as my favorite saddle from the Sidewinder that I have used quite a bit in the past. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know what's your favorite saddle. And until next time, remember to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation.